Can we just talk about the elephant in the room now? You're up 12 most of the game. You dictate.
Yeah.
Florida finally gets the lead. What happened the last possession?
Here's my one thing. Turn. Get your eyes looking at the hoop. He would have saw Clayton jumping. He could have shot the ball into Clayton.
Try to get the foul.
And probably gotten a foul.
Yeah.
Clayton was flying towards him.
Yeah.
Like, he had no chance of pulling off of that one.
And there would have been a foul.
And it would have been a foul. So if he had just gave it a second, just a half a second,
jump into
to
him,
just boom and then jump towards him, he would have gotten a foul on it. But he was shooting the ball before he ever got his eyes turned.
Welcome back to another episode of Talking Laws. I'm Silas. This is James. This is Zach. And we're going to do Final Four championship review.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It was pretty fun.
All the games lived up to the hype.
It was very exciting.
I thought it was they were all worth watching, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is probably one of the first years that I actually enjoyed sitting down, watching all the games. I wanted to watch all the games.
Oh, yeah.
I actually got into it pretty good.
Yep.
I thought it was pretty fun.
No, it was one of the better tournaments I can remember. And probably it's because the last couple years, it feels like it's been pretty, I don't know if this is right, Cinderella heavy.
Well, San Diego State 2 years ago against UConn, and then
it's just
Purdue. I felt like Purdue never had a shot,
honestly,
even with Goliath on their team.
Yeah.
Because the last couple years have been just the UConn Invitational.
Yeah.
Essentially, and
hate Dan Hurley.
I thought it was. I thought it was very exciting. I think Zach's just secretly in love with him or something like that, and he's trying to
just because he's bald, just trying to kind of
disguise it. And so I don't know. I thought it was an awesome tournament.
Not no upsets the first weekend or anything like that. Not really, but overall, the Final Four and the championship were excellent.
Yeah, I think having a more higher seed heavy tournament where less upsets, it made for a better tournament, and I don't think that's going to necessarily be the norm moving forward.
No, probably not.
And I think people talk about with NILs, is it always just going to be these big teams? And I don't think it is. And I think the biggest reason is because teams have been so old because of COVID and all of that. Players have been playing till they're sixth year in basketball.
Well, this is the last year.
This is the last year
of that.
Yeah. And so teams are going to get younger, and NIL is going to get more regulations put on it with what schools can spend on players, and so I think it'll balance out.
Unless the House is going to do something about that.
I don't know if you'll necessarily get a 15 or 14 seed making a deep run, but as exciting as that is when that team makes that deep run, it doesn't make for a more exciting finish to the tournament.
No.
And so as much as you enjoy the upsets, it's still way more fun to have an all one seed Final Four.
Only have it twice.
Where all of them truly were championship caliber teams, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
No, I think any, we were talking about, I think any four of these different mixtures of matchups would have made for just as good of a game no matter what.
Definitely.
So, I was impressed with we'll get to it, but I was impressed with what Houston did against Florida. Florida had looked pretty
Houston,
good.
These last two games were,
they
were awesome. Houston was just awesome. And I know you end up coming up short. And the best way I kind of heard it put is did Houston blow it or did they overperform for most of the game?
I think the big thing is that the big guys got in foul trouble.
Yeah. And so that was tough. I don't think Juwan Roberts was really as good as you needed him to be.
No, Cryer was a little off during parts of the game too.
The shooters for Houston I thought were pretty good. It came down to the size, and I think it was interesting to watch Houston, which I know we're kind of skipping to championship, but we'll talk about all of it. It was interesting to watch Florida come out and play so physical in that second half.
Just to clear, we're starting with the championship.
We'll just talk about all of them. It doesn't matter. It's not like we're spoiling anything.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I haven't watched the VHS tape yet.
What are you, Cowboys fan?
1996 still, bud.
But I totally lost my train of thought. Yeah, and so it was interesting to see Florida come out and try to be playing so physical. Clearly, the coach sent a message, and it was a lot of fouls earlier. But it kind of seemed like, which again, it's annoying. The referee was completely different in the second half.
It was.
Which I know you're a ref, but that doesn't mean that without criticism. It bothers me when games are reffed totally different from half to half.
Okay, well, let me speak on this, okay? As a guy that's been doing this 18 years, 100%. We had, 4 fouls in the first half? Free-flowing.
Something like that.
Let it be physical. I don't mind being a little physical.
Because I don't think both teams were, over 7 at one point for threes. I mean, it was just...
it was like shooting was so bad, but did either team get into the bonus in the first half?
No,
I don't think so.
Houston had 3, Florida had 1.
Is that it?
Yeah. First half.
It's a good physical game. 2 teams playing really well.
Because no one's getting their head cracked open.
Houston's held Walter Clayton
0 points in the first half.
The defense they played on him was just incredible.
That's what somebody was talking about it might have even been the announcers of the game. A double team can do 2 things. It can either hurt you or it can help you, depending on how that double team plays. And they played a phenomenal double team, and it helped them immensely stay in that game and keep it as tight and keep Clayton down.
So back to the reffing. Then all of a sudden you see Roger Ayers and the other guys. All of a sudden it tightened up so quickly because you see Florida got 7 very quickly, and then you include the bench technical that they got for Florida's coaches.
Was it because they came on the court to protest?
The rule is only one coach can stand at a time, so that's the head coach, right?
Well,
that's the rule.
But there was something to do with
all the way stood up. You know how the Alamo Dome, you have to step up onto the court.
So there was something about that.
But isn't if it's a dead whistle, can't multiple coaches
be
standing?
No, that's correct. Yeah. But it was live. It was live ball, and the fact is that Florida had been asking for a technical ever since Saturday.
Yeah.
So I think Ayers had enough of it.
I think the issue is that it wasn't just that they stood up, but multiples of them actually entered the court. Which, because of it being that raised court, they can stand on the side because it is a raised court. They can stand.
Yeah.
Yep. But they can't get up on the floor, and so there was multiples of them that actually there was 3 or 4 different.
Yeah. So they got 7, but then Houston got 3 fouls in 9 seconds.
Yeah,
that was quick.
Ridiculous.
You can't all of a sudden adjust like that, because it drives me nuts. You go see a junior college game or whatever, even a high school game, and you'll see refs. If I see refs doing this, that's a telltale sign. All of us saying, "Hey, we got to tighten up."
No,
you can't. Again, you got to set the tone in the first half. Just run the same way.
Call it tight early.
It's like
and then
the strike zone in baseball.
Loose it up because they're playing clean, then so be it. But don't get tighter as the game goes on, unless it wasn't physical in the first half, and then all of a sudden it's gotten way dirty, and you need to tighten up because of that. Yeah. But the game was just as physical through and through, I thought.
And I think. Listen, officiating didn't lose that game for Houston or anything, but I think it's a big difference if you have JV or Francis and Tugler don't have 4 fouls. They have to sit for 8 minutes, and Jerron Roberts is the only one out there, and Houston is playing small ball.
Yeah.
Which
and I actually think the small ball kind of worked for them.
And it's not that Tugler had a phenomenal game by any means.
He won Defensive Player of the Year, though.
Yeah, but he takes a lot of pressure off of Roberts underneath the hoop.
Florida has a lot of size, just helping handle that.
Yep.
But I thought the championship game was awesome.
It was.
And it was impressive. I was thoroughly impressed with both teams. For Houston to hold Florida to what? Florida scored, 65?
65, yeah.
To hold Florida to 60. If you told me that they held Walter Clayton to what?
It was
11 points.
11 points.
They had 2 free throws.
If you would have told me that Walter Clayton had 11 points and Florida only scored 65, I'm like,
Houston wins.
Okay, Houston won.
Yeah.
But the defense that Houston played on Florida to limit Walter Clayton, who's just incredible, to keep the scoring low, I was thoroughly impressed with Houston. But it was the maturity of Florida, and especially Walter Clayton, to not let the lack of scoring get to him. He didn't take himself out of the game. He didn't let that take him. He kind of let the game come to him, and it was interesting because Houston totally dictated terms. of the game.
Yeah, for most of it, for 38 minutes.
Yeah. And so, but Florida just kind of let the game come to them. They rolled with the punches, and then when it mattered, you see Walter Clayton finally take over. It was funny when he made his free throws. I inside was like, uh-oh. He just saw the ball go through the hoop. We know what that can do to a shooter.
The switch flipped.
Yeah, and that I was kind of worried beyond that point, but it was. I just thought it was awesome to watch on both sides.
Deep three that he hit from like almost half court at one point.
Caitlin Clark shot.
Like,
golly, this guy's starting to feel it now.
It was
the biggest part for me for Clayton was that dribble drive come from the left side, and he gets legit foul. He gets hit. The ball he manages.
I don't know
to
how
drop it. I don't know how he did it.
Well, and he drove on the guy with no screen, just straight downhill speed.
Yeah,
blue pass.
I don't know how he got the ball to go in. That was
he got it.
My favorite thing I've heard is Walter Clayton is so good at basketball we forget his name is Walter.
Yeah.
That's cracked me up ever since I heard that.
Okay, yeah.
But
okay.
But shout out to Florida, won the tournament or the bracket.
They deserved it.
Won the bracket challenge between the.
Yeah, you are now the spanked bottoms king now.
Yes, I spanked all
bottoms. I king.
Spanked all of the bottoms of the other people. So
yeah,
you guys can suck it. Anyways,
wait till next year.
But
okay, can we just talk about the elephant in the room now? You're up 12 most of the game. You dictate.
Yeah.
Florida finally gets the lead. What happened the last possession?
I don't know.
I don't even go to there. For me, the bigger part leading up to that is you don't score the two possessions before that.
Both turnovers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's the bigger part for me is you're spiraling a little bit.
Yeah.
Down the stretch.
And so fouled out.
Florida left it like it's not like Florida put you away. They missed free throws late.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
And so if you go and score on one of those possessions, it keeps the pressure on Florida.
Yep.
You don't do that, which shout out to Florida's defense. It was very impressive in the last couple minutes.
It was.
And I don't obviously how the final possession ended wasn't good, but that was a design play.
Yeah.
Like, you see this Juwan Roberts screen coming down or whoever it was. You see him curling up for that. That's how they wanted it to go. They were playing for win.
Clayton
they were playing for the win.
The beginning.
It was just
closed on
you kind of just got bested by the best player on the floor.
Okay, but here's my one thing. Turn, get your eyes looking at the hoop. He would have saw Clayton jumping. He could have shot the ball into Clayton.
Try to get the foul.
And probably gotten a foul.
Yeah.
Clayton was flying towards him.
Yeah.
Like, he had no chance of pulling off of that one.
And that would have been a foul.
And it would have been a foul. So if he had just gave it a second, just a half a second,
jump into him,
just boom and then jump towards him, he would have gotten a foul on it. But he was shooting the ball before he ever got his eyes turned.
So Emmanuel Sharp is getting the last shot. To me, that moment kind of seemed like, to your point, James, of he's just turning around shooting. Mm-hmm. It seemed like Walter Clayton was the smarter player on that play.
Yep. He looked like the more mature player in that play.
I mean, he looked like the more mature player in the last down that stretch of the game.
Roberts was getting tired at that point, right?
He's been playing almost the whole game because basically the whole game. Francis are in foul trouble.
Yeah, and he had played a good game. I mean, Roberts didn't have a bad game by any means. He could have had a better game.
There were some shots he missed that he
could have had a better game. I mean, there was a lot of shots that he missed that you're used to seeing him make. Yeah. But there was also a lot of shots that Cryer missed that I'm used to seeing him make. Yep. So there was just something.
Walter Clayton also missed a lot of shots we're used to seeing him make.
Yeah, Clayton was way off. So it was just. There was, early on in the game, right? They had missed a ton of threes.
It's like 0 for 15 combined.
A lot of nerves.
What was Houston's coach, whatever?
Kelvin
Sampson. He was interviewed about it, and he goes, it's a championship game. Of course you're going to miss shots. Yeah. He goes, everybody's got a ton of nerves and whatever. It was like, it'll come down, we'll be fine.
Dude, that first half felt like it lasted like 5 minutes. Yeah. It was so fast.
It was really
quick. It was so fast, which is great when there's only 4 fouls called.
Yeah.
But...
don't tell me how to blow my whistle.
No, on that final play though, is just get the ball up. I would so much rather have that shot blocked than what.
At least have a chance.
Yeah, like I would so much rather be like, hey, I got bested. He blocked the shot. Tip your cap. Versus, well, I froze up in a moment and screwed up. Just overshoot it. Just get it up in the air for one of your teammates to have a chance. Just try to get it up on the hoop.
they're so good at offensive rebounds.
Yeah, just try to get it up on the
they had
hoop.
a ton of offensive rebounds early in the first half.
Whatever you do, not that. It was so tough to watch.
Well, here's the question. Would you rather have had Cryer taking that shot?
I thought he was going to. When that first developed, I thought Cryer was going to be the one.
That might have been the stages to the play. Do something over there if you've got an open shot. If not, then you got the down screen to Emmanuel Sharp.
And they were going to give it to Uzan, but Uzan's not a bad player at all. He's really good, but I'd rather give it to Cryer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't hate what they did. I think I heard somebody say they didn't get inside the 3 line. I don't think they were trying to. I think they were playing for the win.
I think they were playing for the win. I mean, which is valid.
Which I don't hate that. Like it's either you win or you lose, and that's it. I kind of prefer that method versus the whole. I don't really care. But
what a heartbreak though for Houston. That's over 3 for championship games for them all time. And honestly, how do you not like Coach Sampson's? Like, what did he say at the first half? Like, we're not playing Sasquatch State. We're playing Florida. Yeah. Like, yes, great quote.
Yeah. No, and I mean, you look back at, 8 years ago or whatever, he was literally like handing out tickets and like trying to get people to come to the game in Houston. Because there just wasn't any interest in the Houston athletics.
Houston's historically a great basketball program, but just hard times.
And nobody was coming, and so he was out there on campus, literally like handing out tickets, like come to the
Sounds
game.
like Dan McCarney in Iowa State years ago.
An absolute shout out to what he's done with that program. They've been absolutely awesome the last few years.
Are they real quick sidetrack? Are they the best addition to the Big 12 of the new teams?
I think so. Them and then maybe
what about
Arizona.
BYU? I mean, BYU's
good too.
Probably BYU. I wouldn't say Houston. It's probably BYU because they've probably given us the most on basketball and football.
Yeah, fair enough.
But probably, if anybody, it's probably Colorado, and that's just because of Deion Sanders and the eyeball Cesar Ross.
I'm talking about overall, like, I get it with the Deion thing. I
you're talking about like actually winning. It's probably BYU. Yeah, results. It's probably BYU then.
BYU.
And then you go Arizona, football and technically, I know Arizona didn't do that great in the tournament, but like football-wise...
They aren't very good.
Oh, sorry, not Arizona. It was Arizona State.
Yeah. And so you've had different contributors on each side, but on both sides, it's probably BYU.
Worst one right now is probably Cincinnati.
Yeah, Cincinnati's been kind of sad.
They've been a little disappointing.
Love their football
it's tough
stadium.
when you go to get them. I love total side tangent here. When you go to get them, their football program's a lot better. They lose like Luke
Fickell.
Is it?
Luke Fickell.
Luke Fickell.
Yeah.
And then basketball's been kind of a...
They were supposed to be really good this year. They petered out. Yeah.
But no, I've enjoyed having Houston in the Big 12.
They're really fun
with basketball.
No, they're cool. They love Iowa State. They see it. You know,
as long as they're fun on Twitter.
They're fun on Twitter. Their fans are really cool because they're like, they see Iowa State as like their defensive brothers.
Yeah,
you know that meme where the buff guys are like doing the hand thing.
Yeah.
It's Houston and Iowa State.
Yeah.
They both fan bases like
I'll never
love each other.
I'll never forget last year watching Iowa State and Houston play.
Oh man!
And some dude ends up on the back of Robert Jones. And nothing is called. I was like, how do you end up on someone's back and nothing gets called?
We're going to talk about that
with
with
the craziest games.
Game.
But
that was.
We're going to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, we might as well move back to the Final Four games.
Kind of talking about Houston. We'll kind of keep talking about Houston, and then we can kind of talk a little bit more about Florida and go to Florida Auburn. But
I was thoroughly surprised by Houston's ability to keep Duke down. Like, Duke looked at that point like they were going to be a really, really hard team to beat. And I'm not saying they weren't.
They were very hard.
But I was really impressed by Houston's ability to outplay them like they did. I mean, they outshot them on threes. They outshot them on field goals. I mean, Houston just they did what they needed to do, which was outplay them.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because the Houston Duke game was kind of it was almost the inverse of what ended up happening to Houston in the championship game. Is Houston in that game was the more mature team down the stretch.
Yep.
They look like the team that knew how to handle that moment. versus Duke, which I mean Duke's running freshmen and young players.
Cooper Flake
out
still
there.
had 27 still.
Yeah, and Duke was awesome, but down the stretch, which that comeback was incredible to watch.
You're down 6 with 37 seconds to go.
I couldn't believe it. It was just absolutely incredible. Duke had no ability to handle the pressure.
No.
Like they just were struggling on an inbounds.
You guys watch? It reminded me so much of that double overtime game between Houston and Kansas in Lawrence in January. It was the best game of the conference season. But, yeah, it reminded me of that where, let's see, at that point, Houston was down 4 at that point. No, they were down 3 because they took the 3 and got the offensive rebound. But, yeah, Duke couldn't get it in. It gives it to Uzan.
Yeah. And then when they were getting it in, the trap was working for Houston.
Man, it was. That's what I was like. Duke's nightmare right now is not getting it in on the inbound line right now. That was like Duke's nightmare at the end of the game because Houston's trap and their pressure was working really, really well.
Yeah,
and it was a mature team that knew how to apply the pressure, how to properly trap, and a young team that had and this is what my point was with Duke is I wondered going into the tournament, is it going to be that since they didn't play anybody, they're fresh, they've got the longevity to go, or is it going to be that since they didn't play anybody, they're going to get punched? They're not going to have that kind of toughness making. And at first it looked like, hey, they're a fresh team, they're really good, they haven't played anybody, so they've got the legs to go.
Yep.
And then it ended up being, you can see when a team can apply a pressure and it affects you that much, that's clearly because you haven't seen competition like that.
Well, and it has to do a lot with your mental dexterity and your mental fatigue, right? Because when you constantly are playing people that do that to you, you learn how to mentally deal with the pressure before having to physically deal with it. And they could not mentally deal with it. Any one of those guys on Duke could physically deal with that pressure.
And that was the difference between Florida.
Mentally, they couldn't.
And that's the difference between Florida and Duke.
Yes.
Florida playing the SEC, great conference.
They're playing tough competition week in, week out.
They outstood Houston in the face of that adversity.
And it was and especially Walter Clayton, right? He was so strong mentally, maturity wise, and you didn't see that with Duke. And it's and that's in part because their team is younger, and it's also they just didn't see that this year.
Yep.
Or at least not to the point, or not to the ability that Houston can, you know. And I know they played Auburn in the non-con and stuff like that, but that
was at home too.
Yeah, and so neutral court and down in Texas.
Yeah, it felt like a Houston home game.
Well, Houston and San Antonio are only like an hour and a half apart. Yeah. It's not that far.
Yeah, so. No, it felt like a Houston home game.
Yeah, it was loud. Yeah, terrific. No, game was amazing. All the games were great, obviously. Houston, Coach Sampson, it was like that Purdue game. You had the inbounds play that won the Sweet 16 game against Purdue, Houston. And then they crushed Tennessee, and then they had an epic comeback here against Duke. You guys want to go ahead and talk about the displacement call that Keith Kimball called on Cooper Flake?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Just for full clarity here, Keith Kimball is one of my mentors.
Okay. Also,
I have an emotional investment.
Just so fans are for you out there that could be confused, over the back is not in the rule book. Okay, and I hear professional announcers on national TV call it over the back, and it bothers me. That's a term I heard growing up. And over the back is nothing, okay? So when you hear them talking about over the back, the actual call is displacement. And Zach, real quickly, then you can kind of explain displacement, and we can get into that displacement call.
Yeah, so essentially when you hear an announcer or a coach say over the back, this is where we need the soundboard.
Ooh la la. Ooh la la. James is our soundboard.
But essentially, when you hear over the back, that's not the call. It's what you're observing. He went over his back to get to the ball, right? The actual call is displacement, and displacement doesn't necessarily have to happen on a rebound or anything like that, but primarily that's when it does. essentially you are going through the body to get to the ball. You're displacing the guy who has a right to that spot on the floor.
Cylinder foul,
Right.
essentially. Yeah.
So it's
You're
called
kind of
displacement.
under,
Right.
yeah.
So so there you go. So if you're playing basketball officiating trivia at the bar, which I don't know where you do that at, you're going to win. Your
Probably
$50.
somewhere in Kansas or
probably
North
in
Carolina.
Yeah. Or maybe UCLA, but they're all hippie
Yeah,
out there.
cares about
Anyway,
that.
just for full disclosure, Keith Kimball is one of my mentors. So I really enjoyed him helping me in my career as an official. And I have an emotional investment in this. Looking at it first, I try to think from an official's perspective. The game's going way faster. Mm-hmm. So in that moment, I can't say that I wouldn't have called displacement as well. Mm-hmm. But you look at a replay, and it's so different when you look at a replay slow down.
Yeah.
It looks like I don't think Flegg necessarily went through Roberts, honestly.
It was probably at best ticky-tack.
I'd say so.
Because that happens a lot in college basketball. Which, again, if it breaks the rules, it breaks the rules, and it should be called every time.
Yeah.
And so what people don't like is, well, it's when in the game you called it. And so that's what sometimes can
late
get people...
game situation, yeah.
And so that's what can get annoying is if, okay, well, it's a foul. If it's a foul, it's a foul, right? Yeah. But, well, they didn't call this foul for, 3/4 of the game, and now when it matters the most, now they're calling these fouls that they weren't calling all game, which, again, refs are human. They're not going to be...
And you can never please everybody.
No. Mm-hmm. But... that it was not much on that play.
Like I said, I look at it and I know from my own career, I've done the same thing before where the game's going so much faster, and all that. And I know for sure I've called displacements when I was like, ugh, probably wasn't that, but I got to go sell it, make sure coach thinks that I got it.
Yeah.
So now I got two things to say. The Duke fandom lost their minds and they're like, this official, whoever, they don't know his name, but this official lost us the game. You were up 6 with 37 seconds to go. Mm-hmm. You couldn't hit down the ball. You couldn't hit you couldn't hit the front end of the 1-on-1.
To Duke, maybe make more than one field goal in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You win the game if you make more than one field goal in 10 minutes, okay? That's it. And watching that game, when Cooper Flag made that 3, I kind of thought, okay,
I was over.
Houston gave it its all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Duke's now gotten out of their
offensive
offensive
point. That was like the
and
last
it's kind
thing
of
you
like
can have
it
here
kind of felt
is
like
a three.
that was the most that Houston had. Duke's now back up 9, so almost double digits. You're kind of like great, but it kind of just goes back to the maturity factor of which has kind of been the overall theme of talking about the tournament, or especially the Final Four, and it was just. Duke had, or Houston rather, had the maturity to not let that field go back. Okay, well, we tried so hard to fight back in this game. Bam, it's over.
I really at that point I was like, the last thing you can have here is a 3-point shot, and then they hit it, and you're like,
it's over.
That's what it felt like. Yeah, but no, Duke, if you want to be playing forward in the championship game, which I think that would have been an electric game too.
Either it doesn't matter what the combination.
I don't think there was
awesome.
a bad combination.
Yep.
There wasn't. Oh, one more thing. This is political. Okay, you guys
now
know
we're gonna get canceled.
No, we're not. Okay, who's sponsoring us? No one. Okay,
no one. But if you do want to, us, we will accept almost anybody.
Almost. But either way.
I'd prefer a coffee company, but
I know Reformed Roasters. Maybe
so, what's the
Black you guys know
if you want to sponsor us? That's fine. We will accept payments of just coffee, so that's fine.
No cash. I don't drink coffee. Anyway,
well, the producer does, so you're overruled here.
All of you guys drink coffee. I'm the oddball here. Do you guys know who Jason Whitlock is?
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wasn't he?
He's kind of a nutcase, right?
A little bit. Seems like
he works for the Blaze.
Yeah.
This guy, listen, we may be conservative. I don't care if you're conservative, liberal. I don't care if you're a nut. You're a nut, and Whitlock is a nut. He points directly to Keith Kimball and says the reason that Kimball was out there officiating because of DEI initiatives. Keith Kimball is one of the greatest officials in the entire world. I'm not saying that because I know the guy and he's worked with me. He's a tremendous official. He's highly respected. And then he says the reason he called the foul because the white kid had an advantage over the black kid.
Oh my gosh,
It's retarded.
that's ridiculous.
I know it's retarded.
Did have like 4 white guys. I think they were the only team with. Well, I guess Florida had.
Florida caught a few.
We were watching
Goliath.
Yeah, we were watching the one game. Me and another guy. We were watching the one game in the hotel, the championship game. He goes, "There's no white guys out there," and I was like, "Yeah, no, Florida's got a couple."
Houston has 0 white guys, and Florida has.
Who's the closest?
Florida has like 2. It's their 2 big guys.
3.
And that 7'9" kid they got on the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got 3. Like,
That's crazy. Did you see him cut down the net without using the ladder? That is insane.
It is Goliath out
I
there.
feel good when I can jump and touch the net.
yeah.
Different goals.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with that.
Makes it move.
Officials, okay, and this is every sport, okay? If it's a Super Bowl, if it's basketball, if it's baseball,
Curling.
at the highest levels, the officials are there because they're the best.
Yep.
And even
Like
the best,
like the NBA officials, the only reason they're there is because they're the best.
Don't get us started on the NBA. Good word.
in every sport but the NBA.
I've actually watched just a few NBA games recently, not all of them, but a few
Right.
of them, and it's almost comical to watch them. At some
They're
point.
just
terrible.
there because they know what to call.
Yeah, but
They're the best. They
Okay, here's
know,
what I
hey,
learned.
LeBron, somebody sniffed LeBron, call a foul.
Here's what I learned:
Yeah.
they can review a excessive closeout for potential
Yeah, we were watching that.
technical foul. Was that you and I? were
Yeah,
watching that?
because
That's
we were
right.
waiting for basketball to start. And yeah, in the NBA,
For real?
they
It
can
can be
go to
reviewed.
review. An
A
excessive
closeout.
closeout is a foul in the NBA.
Well, it can be a technical foul for like cylinder safety issues, but it's called
What?
a technical foul. So the guy went to close out, or he closed out on a.
it was just
Yeah.
kind of came.
it was
across.
just a pretty good closeout. Like
A hard
that was
closeout
it.
is not a foul.
Yeah,
I guess
exactly.
kind of I thought it was just a good effort closeout.
Yep.
That's all
Yeah.
I thought it was.
But they
And it looks
reviewed
they're-
it for a
they're
technical
reviewing a
foul.
closeout. I was
Yeah.
like, what
Okay,
in the
and
world?
I'm
was
going to
like,
give you
holy
guys
cow.
a...
And it's not like
excessive
he's
closeout.
coming in smacking the guy in the face. It's
That's
just
different.
No, if you close out too aggressively.
Well, the guy landed and he like caught his foot a little bit, and so the guy
I don't know
kind
if
of
he really
stumbled
did.
when he came down.
Yeah.
Call a common foul.
Well, but yeah, and that's what they were like. It was just a common foul. It
But
wasn't-
again, that's
anyway.
that's the NBA trying to take away aggressiveness
Okay.
for the
Okay,
sake
but-
of
well,
player
but
safety.
Hold on. Here's what you have to think about. Okay, and this goes even to the NFL.
Okay.
And I don't like it, but this is why they're doing it. It's a business and it's also an investment for these teams. Okay, so you've got
Yeah.
millions of dollars tied up in these guys. Millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that being guaranteed money. Look at Deshaun Watson. He had what, $400 million in guaranteed
All used on
money?
massages.
But
Waste of money.
but the Browns had $400 million tied up in guaranteed money on him.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to protect your investment.
Yep.
Okay. So that's why some of these rules have been brought in by these teams,
The owners,
by the
yep.
owners, saying, "Hey, we got to protect our investment. We can't have a guy sitting on the bench for two months because he got his ankle broken
Yeah.
because somebody was out there playing
Roughing him up.
rough basketball."
Yeah.
Right. So I understand the reason behind it. Do I like it? No, but they're trying to protect their investment, right? It's a business. This is not
Yeah.
college basketball. This is a business. Okay, they're in this to make money.
Yeah.
So the people come to watch the star players.
Yeah.
So if your star player is sitting on the bench, people stop coming. And so you lose money. So your investment is not actually doing what it's there to do, which is make you money.
Yeah.
So I understand the rules. Do I think
Yeah.
they're dumb? Yes, I think they're dumb. But I understand why they're
Yeah.
there.
Anyway.
Well, I'll give you a little insight here. Minimum starting salary for an NBA official is $850,000 a year, not including the playoffs.
Wow.
That's
College
ridiculous.
basketball official is $3,500 a game. Amazing money still, right? Plus you get per diem from them visiting school and all that. I've had people ask me, Zach, would you ever want to try to be an NBA official? No, never, ever, ever. The pinnacle for me is college basketball. That's it.
But yeah. Anyways,
yeah,
to what I was
just-
saying about the officials, because it's the whole Jason Whitlock point.
Yeah.
No, the officials there at the Final Four are there because they're the best. And there's people that review their games. They review every
Correct.
single call they make,
Yep.
every call they miss. That's why those officials are there. They're still humans. They're still going to make bad calls. They're still going to miss calls. They're still going to get calls right. And we just the expectation for us to be perfect, which I get. Okay, I've coached homeschool basketball. I expect Zach to be perfect when he's reffing a game, obviously, or at least biased towards me. No, and so
you haven't paid me enough money.
I get in the moment, right? You're gonna be like, okay, he didn't get a call right. How dare he? But it's like you gotta understand when the game's going that fast.
But they're all judgment calls.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're trying to use your best judgment at the moment.
Yeah.
And so they may review that tape, and he might even review that tape and go, "Man, I shouldn't have called that one." Right?
Yeah.
Or he goes, "Man, if I made that call, I probably should have made this one earlier too."
Yeah, and
Like,
they know that.
That's graded, and you get notes after every game.
Okay,
right?
it's
That's
the
what
end of
you're
the
gonna
game.
get.
Things are intense. You want to be at your best.
Yep.
You see Cooper Flag. It looks like he's going through him. Bam! I got the call. You know, you're like, okay, because I want to make sure I get this call right. And then it ends up not really being a foul. That's probably what it is.
Right, but like
He's
after the
It
fact
didn't change the game.
But after
No.
the fact is when you find that out, right? It's not
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
In the moment, you're into that game. You're invested a little bit.
Yeah.
Right?
And fans
so-
sitting at home watching the game on a TV where they get to see the replay slow down a dozen times, they're not feeling the energy on the court when that call's made, right? They're sitting at their couch screaming at a TV because they're smarter than anybody at the stadium. You know, the camera angle was perfect on the call, so how dare the ref get it wrong from his angle? It's just a ref made probably just a ticky-tack call would be the best way to point it out. He's not picking on Cooper Flag. And besides, if you're going to why would he pick on, even if you're saying, well, he's picking on the white guy, it's like, well, he's the best player in college basketball. Why would he pick on him just because he's white? Like,
Well, and here's the thing.
That's stupid.
I'm going to give you a little more insight here. You notice that Keith Kimball didn't work the national championship game.
Okay.
Here's how it works to the NCAA tournament. So you work your season, whatever, and you get selected to go work a first-round contest. You work your game.
And usually
You wait for a call.
For instance, like Iowa State's first game, I think had ACC refs. And so you usually assign them from different conferences so you don't
Put
have...
the best of your best from the same
to
conference.
try to avoid
Camaraderie.
any bias of, hey, you got Big 12 refs on a Big 12 SEC game. Well, you're worried about Big 12 bias there. So usually they try to pull them from other conferences.
Correct.
Too.
But you work your first-round game. You wait for a call. You get a call that says, hey, congratulations, you made it to the second round. You're working this game. Or you get a call saying, hey, thank you for working. You didn't make the cut this year. Better luck next year. Keith Kimball has incentive to do the best he can. He's made all the way to the Final Four. He's never been to a national championship game before. He's got incentive to do the best he can. Why would he stick his neck out just to hit on some white kid? A friend of mine, Dave Hall, he's been officiating for over 35 years. He's only ever made it to an Elite Eight before. It is so tough to get, even to an NCAA tournament. Why is he going to pick on the white kid to jeopardize going to a national title game?
It has nothing to do with... He's not there because he's black. He's not picking on a white player because he's racist. I'm sorry, that's...
Whitlock's a nut.
That's
I don't care if he's
retarded.
conservative or not. He's a nut.
Yeah.
And that's the end of my tangent right there.
There you go.
Crazy's crazy no matter which side of the line you are.
Fair enough, Jim.
All right. Florida
Your
Auburn.
word of the day. Yeah.
How many times did Florida come back from a double-digit deficit
Wasn't it
in this tournament? Like four?
I think it was 4 times.
They were down
Because it was to
9.
Houston, it was to Auburn, it was to
Tech.
Dan Hurley,
Yeah,
and
Tech
then
was
Tech.
UConn.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think those 4 games they were
Tech
down
game's
in
still
all those
smarts
games.
for Tech fans, man.
Yeah.
But either way,
I could
yeah,
have
down-
had my championship game right if Tech had won. I go back to my what if. Clayton scored 34 points in this game.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Ridiculous.
Him not
dude.
doing that same performance against Houston is what kept Houston in that game.
Yeah.
If
Well,
Clayton had played like
Will
he
Richard
had
had,
here,
what, 4
Yeah, he
threes
had
to
a
keep
lot. Yeah.
Florida in it,
Yeah.
the championship.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If
But
Clayton
to
had
see what
played
he
like
did
this-
to Auburn, and then to see what Florida did to him, and it's not like he's not a streaky shooter. He's just really good. Like he was
Yeah.
putting up a lot of points in every single game, and every time, off the top of my head, as far as I know, every time
Yeah.
Florida had a comeback, it was on the shoulders of Walter Clayton. Or
Yeah,
on the
there's
back.
a reason
however
he
you
was
wanna
named
look at
most
it.
outstanding player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy impressive. Don't feel bad for Auburn fans. You blew it. I don't know.
Are you
Yeah.
still ticked off about the tip ending against Iowa State and Maui?
I was gonna say I kind of like Broom. I don't know. I
Jedi
don't
Broom's
have really.
cool. He's finally
I don't-
leaving. He's 6
Yeah.
years. He's finally gone.
Something
Finally,
like
I don't really
that,
have
yeah.
an issue with him. I like
Bruce Pearl a lot. He's really good. It was kind of fun to see where you had 2 old head coaches versus 2 younger coaches.
Yep.
Matching up.
And then you had like the largest gap between Houston and Florida's coach.
Well,
Yeah, that's the
Todd
second.
Golden.
That's the second youngest coach to
second
ever won a
youngest.
championship, and Kelvin Sampson
would have been the oldest
all
ever
time.
to even make it. He's oldest to make it even.
He's 79.
69.
Right? 69.
79. Holy crap!
He's older than
And
Donald
then,
Trump.
yeah, and
But
then,
not as good hair.
I'd like to see Donald Trump coach a basketball game.
My gosh, it'd be huge.
Just player pisses him off, you're fired. Get to the bench.
Do it.
That'd
Do it
be
again.
awesome. I want to see Donald Trump fighting with the refs during a basketball game. That would be hilarious.
you just have a debate with him all day.
Probably, but no,
But
it
from
was.
my angle,
Make a deal.
I know the coaching, the Final Four and championship game was absolutely elite coaching. And so that's fun to watch. Is not just the talent on the floor, but then the chess match between the coaches.
Yeah, Todd Golden was
The coaches are just very smart with what they're drawing up. And so
I think
I like-
Florida's got to be concerned about Todd Golden when some of these NBA jobs open up.
Yeah.
They got to be concerned.
yeah.
Try to keep him around.
I did like Kelvin Sampson when they were drawn up at the end of the game there when they were looking to play.
Yeah.
It showed a clip of him, and the guy handed him 4 papers, and he had. So I'm assuming he has basically different plays written up, and in the moment he decides which one he wants to go with,
Right.
and then he draws it out on the board. But I was like, that's kind of cool.
He's really good.
He's got his little cue cards ready to go, and he's like.
And
"This
there's
is the one I
also
want."
there's the assistants on the teams are really smart. I know I've heard of like just because I'm close with Iowa State. Like there was one time where an assistant for Iowa State drew up an offensive play, and so you'll see that often where. Well, the head coaches, you'll see them in the huddle, and the assistants doing some of the talking.
I was gonna and so actually sometimes it's a lot more of the assistants than it is the head coach when it comes to actually getting like a defensive
The
set ready or an
schematics and
offensive
some of
set
that
ready.
stuff,
Is you go in and you say, okay, before the huddle happens, you go, okay, do you got what you're gonna do because this is you, and then the head coach brings it in. He says, blah 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 blah. He gives his little spiel, guys.
Yeah.
we got to do this. We got to do this better. We're missing this. We're missing that. All right. Get him coached up here, and then he hands it over to his assistant, and then he just gives his little. But at one point, I don't remember what game it was. The assistant was literally the only one talking in the huddle, and the coach was like standing off to the side because he was like, "This is
got it.
This is his thing. He's doing it, and he knows that he's smart."
Well, and
enough
that's
to do
what
it.
you need as a head coach.
Yeah.
So you can't. You're not going
You're
to.
focused on more of the flow of the game.
Yeah.
Right, like making sure that you get the right timeouts called when you need them. Getting your offensive your assistants to get stuff drawn up at the right time, getting substitutes in, right? Like that's what you're focused on, and so you rely on your assistants to get the other stuff done.
I mean, back to the Florida Auburn game. The big thing that stands out for me is the discrepancy in personal fouls. Auburn has 22, Florida has 15, and then rebounding. Florida out-rebounded Auburn by almost 10 and had 3 more offensive rebounds.
Florida was way more physical than Auburn in that game.
Which is always surprising because Bruce Pearl teams you always expect to be more physical.
Yeah. Which, whatever that reason is, I don't know. I don't like Chad Baker-Mazara, so I wasn't sad to see him lose.
Why don't you like him?
Oh, yeah,
So
2 last
whiny.
names.
No, he's just...
I think that's your real problem.
He's
2 last names.
whiny and mouthy. I don't know. But...
You want to smack him a little bit?
And he kind of has a punchable face.
No one has as punchable face as Josh Rosen. Sorry.
No, you're 100%
Rosen?
wrong. No.
Have you
no,
ever seen
you're-
any player for Iowa, like, ever?
No, Silas, you're wrong on that too. The most punchable face in all
Fran
of-
McCaffrey?
No, I want to do the stare down contest with Fran. I want to do that. You remember that?
That's so funny.
Is Brian Ferentz.
Brian.
He's got the
okay,
douchiest
fair.
haircut in the world.
Yeah, Brian. Ferentz.
And I just want to plant one of these right in his suck hole. Just
Okay,
boom.
So I was thinking about you were talking about Goliath, Purdue's old what's his
Zach
face?
Edey.
Zach Edey.
Uh-huh.
So he plays for
Memphis.
One
Yeah,
of the
Memphis.
NBA teams.
I think we were watching that
Yeah.
game. He had 20 rebounds at one point, and I was
Yeah.
like, "My word!"
Someone
this
said
kid-
that he was a wasted draft pick.
He had like
6
points and 20 rebounds.
Dennis Rodman.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I know. I was
He's-
like, "This is insane."
He doesn't look quite as huge in the NBA as he did in college. He still looks big out there, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you look big in the NBA, you're huge.
Hopefully he can
crazy.
stay healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But I guess good for him. I don't know.
Oh, dude, as long as he doesn't hang out with John Morant, he'll be fine. Just not a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it wasn't Memphis. Who was Memphis playing?
Who was Memphis playing?
No, he plays for the Pistons.
Zach Edey plays for the Grizzlies.
No.
Zach Edey plays for the Grizzlies.
We weren't watching the Grizzlies that night.
Yeah, we were. It was Memphis
it?
versus Detroit.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
Because I will bet you my house.
I bet it is.
That
I
tells
don't
you.
have.
I just couldn't remember. I was just thinking he was in a red. I was just thinking he was in a red
house.
I don't have.
I was just thinking he was in a red.
Paul's where you park it.
In a red jersey.
I don't know
but then-
because we were watching an NBA game waiting for college basketball to start, and that's the most I've voluntarily watched in a long time. So,
And even then you went and rip your
and
eyeballs
even though it was
out.
kind of voluntarily, it's just because I was at his house.
Yeah, but regardless, end of the tournament. That was a great tournament.
Yeah.
Great Final Four.
Yeah, what cracked me up, I don't know the last time I saw a player get a technical for spiking the ball.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Who had that?
What?
That was in the title
on
game.
Florida in the title game.
Remember
They're big.
There was
They're
a foul,
big. He spiked the ball.
and it let it pass through his hands.
How did I miss that?
I don't know. It was just funny
I
because you
didn't miss
watch it.
it.
It doesn't
Oh,
look like
weird.
he spikes it that hard, and it still goes flying up.
Yeah, well, that's a technical.
Well, yeah, that's you teach like your grade school players.
Dude, I
that's
call
a
that
technical.
junior high kids.
I know. I don't think I've ever seen that in a college game, unless it was probably some just super heated game. But that,
Right, yeah, Duke,
I don't
North
know.
Carolina, but yeah.
that was almost weird and kind of funny to see. I saw
Well,
it.
I was
kinda
like, are they going to call
I
it
know, I was watching. I was
here?
like, that's a technical,
And they got it.
I think it almost probably took the ref by surprise a little bit.
Probably.
because it kind of looked over at the other official and it was kind of like,
Did that happen?
I mean,
Yeah.
if they're ref in college basketball, it's not like there's no chance to see that very often. And so I'm sure
No.
it's kind of like oh yeah, that's a technical.
Most of your
isn't it?
technicals are going to come
Yeah,
on
it is-
coaches being jerks.
Yeah.
The Fran McCaffreys of the world. The Bob Huggins.
Any other refs? Dan Hurley.
Yes, Dan Hurley. He is so is his brother Bobby,
Yeah.
but a lot less success.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
He can hold
less.
that over his head at Easter next Sunday.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a great Final Four. It was exciting going into the tournament, and it's funny because every time I filled out a bracket,
Yep.
I had such a hard time not having the number one seeds in the Final Four, and I would look for ways to have
There's
them
such
lose
a huge
because
disparity
I've been
this
so
year.
used to it not happening, and so I was always looking for ways to not have them, but it was exciting to have all number one seeds. Made for a great championship game, great Final Four.
I know we were all holding our breath. Zach Edey does play for Memphis Grizzlies.
Good thing I didn't bet the house I did where I parked it. Yeah. Do you guys want to go over just kind of fun? I got a few fun topics left. We can make them quick. Do you want to go over the early preseason power rankings for next year? ESPN just put them out.
Basketball?
Yeah. For
Way
college,
too
men's
early
college
power
basketball.
rankings? Sure, why not?
We can even do our preview of our own final. No, we don't do Final Four teams for next year.
Iowa State. No,
I don't know. Probably UConn again. I don't know.
Oh, gosh, help us all. Number one, Houston. They return some decent players and have a top.
who
20
does
recruit
graduate
class.
out? Roberts.
Roberts is gone. Cryer's gone.
I don't know what their recruiting class looks like.
Top
I don't
three
know
top
who they've-
20 prospects.
I don't
They're
know who
number
they've-
5 in the country
I don't know who
overall.
they've brought into the transfer portal.
Interesting.
It's early in that right
Yeah,
now. Oh, they
kind
got. You remember Pop Isaacs
Yeah.
from Texas Tech? He's going to Houston.
Where was he this last
Creighton.
year? Wow. Okay.
I saw
Interesting.
somebody was leaving in the portal, but I can't remember.
From where?
That's what it's. I can see the picture of
Someone left in the portal.
it. Some
Right,
guy
that
left-
narrows us
some
down
guy
to
left
literally
from
every
somewhere
school.
and is going somewhere. Yes. Anyway.
Well, 2 Iowa State players are now Pitt Panthers.
Is it?
It's weird.
Well,
Well, yes,
because
Andrew
who-
Silas and Deshaun Jackson.
And Deshaun
both at
Jackson,
Pitt.
yeah.
Number 2.
And Iowa players got paid a bunch of money for some reason.
Makes no sense, does it?
Oh.
Number 2, Purdue.
I saw Iowa State picked
Okay.
up one.
Wait,
of
is
the
Braden
really
Smith
good,
back again?
He's still back.
Okay.
I saw Iowa State picked up a really good JUCO transfer.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yep. Number 3,
what they've done for the
Louisville.
last,
Number
like,
3,
3
this
years,
kind of
so.
surprised me. Louisville.
Really?
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, they were pretty
they
good this
return-
year.
do they
so I
return
don't
They,
know.
a
they
bunch?
definitely went from one of the worst teams to, what, they finished 3rd in the ACC.
Yep.
Which
So,
is like
not that hard.
it's like finishing 10th in the Big 12. I don't know.
Yeah. Number 4, UConn. Ugh.
Probably.
With Dan Hurley, I get it. Whatever. My personal feelings aside. Michigan. Number 6, Kentucky.
Okay.
Another one that's interesting. I think this only happens because they made a pretty decent run. Arkansas. At 7.
John Calipari.
Yeah. He can recruit, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Number 8, Duke.
Probably.
Oh, you got
Does
both.
Flag lose?
They got the Boozer twins coming in next year.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
So, yep. St. John's.
Wow.
With Coach Pitino.
Okay.
UCLA at 10.
What?
I don't get
Probably.
it. It's just power rankings. So it was a big
They've probably got, I imagine, some good.
Maybe the recruiting
Probably
class
good
is
recruiting
decent.
class, probably.
I don't care about UCLA basketball. I don't follow it.
I don't
think they care about
UCLA.
Well, I know these two fan base. Well, one fan base definitely doesn't care about this. Number 11, Alabama. My uncle's a huge Alabama fan. I was there at my cousin's wedding a few years ago, and I said it was the year that Alabama made the Final Four. Like, geez, Allen, you got a great basketball team this year. Zach, the only thing that matters down here is Alabama football. I don't care about basketball. Do we have a team?
I thoroughly enjoyed watching Duke pull their pants down in front of God and everybody. That was fun to watch.
That was pretty fun. Yeah, they killed
I
them.
missed that. When they
85-6
pulled their pants
pants
down.
in the Elite Eight game.
You weren't watching close enough, clearly.
Number
Somebody
12,
got pantsed?
Number 12, Auburn. Which don't doubt. Bruce Pearl, he's got a
probably,
consistent
yeah.
program. Yeah. Number 13, Iowa State.
Interesting.
Okay.
Wisconsin. I think that's pretty fair.
Wait, so Iowa State's the second Big 12 team listed?
Yeah, Houston and Iowa
Wow.
State.
That's going to change, especially
BYU
why is Texas tacking on the top
Tech
five?
will
and
move up.
BYU.
BYU will move up.
Well, dude, JT Toppin is coming back to Tech.
Does Arizona bring back Caleb Love for like a 12th year of basketball?
No, he's gone.
Oh, okay.
He's gone. Number 15, Kansas. Paducah's coming back,
For no
so
reason.
that'll
That's all
help.
brand.
It's Coach Self.
Do you think Self leaves?
No.
Okay.
If he didn't leave for Oklahoma State last year, his alma mater, he's not leaving Kansas. BYU had 16. Arizona had 17. So run of Big 12 teams.
They're like, oh, poop, we haven't put very many Big 12
let's
teams.
put them
Let's
all.
just put them out.
Michigan State at 18. Coach Izzo.
Sure.
Florida at 19.
Okay.
They don't have a ton returning. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure
I still think
there's
Coach Golden
probably
might
gonna
get
be-
grabbed
there's probably
by an
gonna be
NBA team.
Yeah, and at best, you probably just have some championship hangover anyways.
It happened. Gonzaga at 20.
Sure. I mean, they
Tennessee-
play what?
Tennessee's really down. They're at 21 for the power rankings, and Coach Barnes is
I
really good.
kind of thought Tennessee was fraudulent all year anyway, so.
Really?
Well, when you get blown out that early in the year, put up like 40 points against Florida, yeah.
Forgot about that. 22. This is going to change because Toppin's back.
Tech.
Tech's at 22. Yep, they're going to be preseason top 7, I'd say, in the AP poll.
Probably.
Ohio State. That's the last thing they did.
do they have a team?
basketball?
There's certain teams that I see them on a basketball court, and I'm just like, this doesn't feel right.
I'm trying to
Right.
figure out
It's
where
like
their stars
Alabama, Ohio State.
are. Ohio State, I'm trying to find their stars on their jerseys when I'm watching basketball.
The Buckeye Nuts, yeah. Texas at 24, and the last one at 25 is a total brand.
Who's Texas's coach now?
North Carolina.
20, right, it's North Carolina at 25. Very good, James. No, 24. Texas, they
win.
got a kid from, they got the coach from Stanford, which is a military school.
Wait, who?
Texas.
Rodney Terry got fired at Texas.
Yeah, which was a long time coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
And they hired the coach from Stanford. But the funny thing about that is that they offered Grant McCaslin
Really?
come coach at Texas.
Well,
He didn't
why
take that.
wouldn't you? But
And then A&M offered him too, and Buzz Williams took the Maryland job.
Why did Buzz Williams take the Maryland job?
Buzz Williams
so
is a
that's what
weirdo.
happened. He left.
I don't
Okay.
know. Yep.
Why would you leave A&M?
Buzz Williams is so weird. He kind of put Marquette on the map back in the day.
Okay, so here's the thing. Maryland cares about basketball.
They do.
I don't know that A&M does. A&M just wants to win at football, which
guess.
They always have preseason
should.
top 10. They finish 8-4. So
They've got the most money,
always
least
happens.
wins.
I was going to say they should win a lot more football than they do.
They've got the least
Kyle
amount of
Field
wins
looks
per
awesome
capita of
to go
dollars.
to.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a great environment. They've got a great field, but, whatever.
They start off like,
money doesn't buy everything, apparently, so.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
They still owe Jimbo Fisher like $70 million still.
That's like pocket change of their NIL budget, so.
Okay, last topic. What needs to be fixed about NIL? Because
I think you have to put a cap.
Everything.
hard cap.
Yep.
Just like the NFL.
Yep.
Because here's the thing. We're Iowa State fans. Everyone knows this by this point. Joshua Jefferson, who is preseason, probably going to be an All-American, probably. Second or first team All-American next year. LSU offered him $3 million to go to LSU. And I told Silas this at work today. If he had gone to LSU, he would have made $3 million, been an All-American. They still wouldn't have made the tournament.
But, yeah.
And then Toppin got $4 million at Tech. And then Darian Williams, him and Toppin were gangbusters during the tournament. Williams is in the portal.
Yeah. Again, there needs to be a hard cap just on how much schools can spend. But then I think there also needs to be a limit on how much you can spend on just an individual player.
I don't know.
I don't care about that.
I don't necessarily think that. But let's say you put a $5 million cap per school on their NIL budget.
Yeah.
Okay, you can go spend all $5 million on one kid if you really think he's going to be that good.
Okay,
or you spread it out amongst people.
Because here's my point: is if we're talking about paying college players millions of dollars, so you're talking players that are between 18 to 22, 23 years old,
roughly, yeah.
So you're asking them to have a maturity level of understanding how to handle millions of dollars in finance at that age, while they're also doing school and stuff like that.
I mean,
I don't think we understand, and I get, for a lot of these players, they're not coming from great situations, and it's life-changing money. But I don't think we fully understand how
this could be pretty detrimental.
Money
honestly.
can mess people up, and so it's just
okay. But you can't fix all of that.
Yeah, I know. And again, it doesn't help that they were just like, hey, free NIL, free transfer portal. And the other thing is is not just NIL. The bigger problem is the transfer portal to me.
Because here's the thing: it used to be. You saw it a lot more in football back in the day. But if I remember Iowa State, even basketball too, I remember Royce White back in the day when Fred first came in years ago. Royce had to sit out a year before he could play.
Yeah.
So you either go back to where if you transfer, you have to sit out a year. Or you do it where you're only allowed to transfer like twice. Yep. That's it.
Yeah.
Sean Jackson's on his third school in 4 years.
There needs to be limits on how much you can transfer. I think there also, which again, I know you're kind of getting to employee territory here, but there needs to be some sort of contract when it comes to signing an NIL deal. And it doesn't need to be that, hey, you're not allowed to leave this school. It just needs to be that, hey, you're not owed this money if you leave this school. Is more so what it needs to be. It doesn't need to be, hey, we're going to pay you millions of dollars, and then, because we think we're getting you here for a while, and then if you leave next year, well, we then what, still owe you millions of dollars for 1 year of basketball or 1 year of football, stuff like that? Mm-hmm. And so the transfer portal thing is the biggest thing, because it's like, now, because I think it's worth it. If you're going to go spend $4 million on a Texas Tech basketball player, but that's because you think you're going to have him for 3 more years, worth it. But what? You're going to spend $4 million on a player for what? 1 more year?
1 year for Toppin for sure.
Yeah, and it's crazy, and it's just players can be offered this money without being in the transfer portal.
Oh yeah,
Which I get it.
Yeah,
because I get it, right? If you're going to get in the portal, you want to know if you're going to get paid, right? You want to know if you're going to go somewhere. But that's crazy that Jefferson can to be like, hey, we'll give you $3 million, get in the transfer portal and come here. Like, imagine if in professional sports there was just wide open.
They called it tampering.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, imagine in the NFL if you knew you had a player for 1 year. Do you know how stupid that would be?
I mean, sometimes they do that.
Yeah, well, kind of. But no, I mean every single player. What if every single player could leave their team after the end of every year?
Oh.
Like, what if Joe Burrow could just be like, hey, all right, who can pay me the most next year?
Dallas can.
Okay. Like,
still lose.
There's a reason that's not done in professional sports, and it's because it's stupid. And so there needs to be, and I get it's for players are supposed to be in college for like 4 years, maybe 5 if you get hurt or something like that. Okay, but a lot needs to change with that. The transfer portal needs to be changed. Why is the transfer portal open in the middle of the tournament?
Yeah.
Makes no sense, does it?
That doesn't make sense. Why is there two transfer portal windows?
Well,
it should just be one.
Well,
why do we need two?
The transfer portal opens the day after conference championship, Saturday.
Yeah, which is dumb.
Which right before bowl season.
It's stupid because then Penn State had that issue where they don't know if their backup quarterback is going to be there for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, why is that happening? Why is that when the transfer portal is open? And then it's causing teams to fire coaches way sooner than they should because of transfer portal, and it's just a mess and it's stupid. And this isn't just it's college sports. It's you unleashed things, NCAA.
Yep.
You unleash things with zero parameters, and now you're trying to crowd it, and you can only crowd it so much because now you said to players, hey, you can go wherever you want, whenever you want, and you can get paid however much you want. And so now to try to rein that in is going to cost people that have fits about it, and so it makes it a mess. And it's not going to stop me from watching college sports.
Of course
not.
It's the best.
But I don't know. A lot needs to change about it.
Well, and so what would you say about players opting out of bowl games?
I mean, I think if it's a last year of eligibility thing, like a senior year thing, and you're looking at your draft stock,
then you have the ability to opt out.
Then that's where,
aside from that, no.
That's where you need some sort of contract or something where it needs to be, hey, if you're going to opt out of this bowl game because we're paying you to be here for the games we play, right? Cam Ward, we are paying you to play here, okay? And if you're saying, hey, I'm only going to play for the first half against Iowa State, okay, then we're going to take some of the NIL money back because you're not playing for us, right?
That's so stupid.
That's how it should work.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how it works in real life. That's how it should work,
But it's also up to the school at their discretion.
Well, you look at...
So a school may be willing to pay somebody to play there 1 year.
Well, here's what Colorado
to potentially
did.
get them there and only play half a game. I don't know. It might be worth it.
Well, the Alamo Bowl, where BYU blew out Colorado, which I was super happy about, because I can't stand Dion and his antics. Travis Hunter and Shador both played. Colorado put insurance on the players in case they got hurt, which hurt their future earnings.
Yep.
So I can't imagine what that policy cost. But there's got to be something we can do, especially the transfer portal is the biggest one, where you have to de-incentivize the ability to transfer. Because either you transfer and you have to sit out a year and lose a year of eligibility or burn your red shirt, whatever. Or you can only transfer up to 2 times in your college eligible years. That's it.
I think you need to start with the transfer portal. That's because it's easier to convince people on fixing how they can just go from school to school than it is saying, hey, no, you can't get paid millions of dollars, right?
Exactly. Transfer portal, I think it fixed a lot.
That's the biggest thing for me because it's, especially with it just being, hey, you can tell Joshua Jefferson, hey, we'll pay you $3 million if you get... He's not... He verbally committed to Iowa State, and then LSU comes in and is like, hey, we're going to give you $3 million if you come here.
I think that goes back to the, like coaches can't recruit outside of the recruiting window.
Right.
I think if a kid's not in the portal, you can't
talk to him.
Contact
which again,
that player.
it's all these players have agents. Agents are talking to agents and all that, which that part of it is also messy.
That's their job.
That's their job.
I'm not blaming them for that.
I just think a school can't contact outside of
I don't think it's the school. I think it would probably be the collective.
Yeah.
So you got Iowa, it's the Hawks Nest.
At least with NIL stuff. Yeah. And again, NIL isn't actually NIL. No one is getting paid for their name, image, and likeness. Like, it's just... That's...
Well, but that also falls under...
Did any of these Iowa players that went to, what was it, Creighton or something like that? Or where'd they go?
Well, Josh Dix
a couple of them
went to Creighton.
Is he getting paid for his name, image, and likeness, or because he's pretty good at basketball?
I think Josh Dix got paid $2 million at Creighton.
Yeah. No one knows his name.
But here's the other thing.
He's not getting paid because he's got a great name or something like that.
The thing that opened up was the ability for these players to actually sign deals with companies.
And that's what NIL is supposed to be.
But it's not.
But now it's these collectives, and it's not NIL. It's just be, hey, our local Toyota wants to pay, or I guess Ames Ford. Ames Ford did it. Shout out, I guess. They brought in Iowa State football players for a trunk or treat thing to promote their brand. So these players are getting paid to help promote the dealership, and people can come meet these players. Okay, I took my son to it. It was pretty awesome to meet Rocco Beck, some other players. Okay, that was awesome. That's NIL. It's not, hey, we got a bunch of people to donate to our collective, and we're going to pay you because you'll help the team. That's not NIL. You're not you're getting paid because of your talent, not because of your name, image, and likeness. So stop calling it that. Just call it. Just have contracts, make them employees. That's what it is. Just call it what it is.
Hard cap. Limit the transfer portal ability. Yes. I think you fix a lot.
And we're going to hard cap. It's schools can have upwards of $20 million for their NIL.
Well, and I
NIL
just saw this
budget, and we're getting rid of collectives, and it's just actually through the school. All right, well, NIL transfer portal stupid. Basketball's fun.
Comment and we'll respond.
Yes, if you leave a comment, we will respond to it.
Ask us about fashion advice. Anything. It could be anything.
I would not ask Zach about a single question fashion advice
Hey,
wise.
he's sticking out.
He's wearing tall socks with shorts, for goodness sakes, and he probably wore sandals over here. So please don't ask Zach.
And you have bad skin. Oh, look, everyone, we're all making observations.
Bad skin. It's dry skin. It's different.
That's how. Okay, whatever.
We'll give you fashion advice.
If for some forsaken reason
Please
you want our
send us
fashion
a
advice
question.
Anyways, appreciate you guys being here with us. For those of you who listen, and we'll see you guys next time.